All right, hello everybody. Welcome to the free Adronis channeling event today, where we're going to be talking about the year of disclosure. So I'm very happy for everybody here. Thank you so much for being here on the chat, the live chat, and of course we are going to be taking Q&A a little bit later on. So what we're going to do first thing we're going to do is we're going to look into some announcements, some exciting announcements that are happening here. So the first one is, of course, our usual monthly offer. So you can go to newearthteachings.com. When you order any session or any product, just enter the promo code disclosure20. And so you'll see an enter a promo code text link there. And you just type in all capital letters, disclosure20, to receive 20% off all sessions and products on newearthteachings.com. So again, this will be valid until New Year's. So the very last minute of New Year's, this will be available for you. So again, this is available for sessions, this is available for courses, for all products that are available on newearthteachings.com. So again, another exciting discount. Feel free to take advantage of it. Secondly, I have been talking, of course, on YouTube about Awoken TV. And so our Indiegogo startup campaign is still going. We have been able to successfully achieve the startup amount for Awoken TV. But we're just running the rest of the course of the startup campaign, and it ends on January 20th. So you can go to the Awoken TV Indiegogo startup campaign link. You'll find it in the video description. So just look in the video description. You can click on the link, and we are still offering discounted subscriptions to Awoken TV. So this is something that's going to be opening up sometime around the spring, so sometime around March. Right now, we're just looking to develop the teacher training website for it, and we're looking to have it finished by the end of January. Then we're going to be recruiting teachers around the end of January to create content for Awoken TV. So this is going to be a really amazing, beautiful, powerful project that is in the works. We're really looking to take it as far and as deeply as we can. It's going to be on iOS, Android, Amazon Fire TV, all these kind of common platforms that you can find, as we're basically going to be developing a web app for it and making this available to the world. And so this will be a really great state of exposure for people who want to get their messages out there, and again creating a spiritual unity in the community. That certainly is our intention. And of course you can go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/AwokenTV. So check it out. We would love to have more support with it. Again, there's a lot more memberships that are available, so you can go ahead and check that out through Awoken TV. And finally, we have the Cosmic Tour to South Africa. So this is going to be featuring both Michael Tallinger and myself. Now this is going to be happening in September of 2019, from September 19th to October 2nd, 2019. We're going to be focusing on visiting sacred sites, and Adronis is going to be coming through and sharing some insight as we go on tour, and he's going to be providing additional details. So Michael Tallinger will be sharing a lot of his information relating to these sacred sites, and then Adronis will be coming in and he'll be giving some additional information. And so there's room for about 35 to 40 people, I believe. So the tour is now available. So you can, again, visit the video description link below, and you'll find the link there. And for those of you that want to join us in South Africa from September 19th to October 2nd, we're going to have an amazing time. We're going to be talking about the Anunnaki, mankind, giants, and gold, with an autumn equinox celebration at Adam's calendar. So I'm deeply looking forward to this. This is just an exciting adventure. Never been to South Africa before. I'm really looking forward to meeting Michael Tallinger and being able to visit these sacred sites. They're going to be absolutely amazing. So if you guys want to take advantage of this as well too, join us on our tour. Again, go to the video description link you'll find there and go ahead and sign up. I'm looking forward to meeting everybody that's going to come along with us for this exciting cosmic tour. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started today with Adronis, the Year of Disclosure. Now, of course, it was back in November. I was able to do a video with Adronis talking about 2019, the Year of Disclosure. So there may be some new updates as it relates to the 2019 year, but I'm going to leave it to Adronis for him to come in and share this information. And then after the presentation, we'll be getting into the Q&A from the chat. So again, just my reminder to everybody who's asking questions, make sure it's either semi-personal or general in nature. No personal questions, okay? Those are for private sessions, right? So let's keep our questions basically semi-personal and general, just so it helps to benefit everybody with the questions that you're able to ask, okay? So again, thank you everybody for being here today. I'm going to go ahead now and take a moment to bring Adronis in, and we'll get started with the Year of Disclosure discussion. Here we go. Soul Star. Sirius. Adronis. We are here at this time, and we bid you greetings, and thank you very much for the opportunity of this interaction today. I am Adronis of Sirius. We say hello to all who are tuning in to this broadcast through your internet collective consciousness. We would ask all of you at this time to simply allow yourselves to get relaxed, get comfortable, and tune in to the vibrations of Sirius, so that you may synchronize, harmonize, and align to all of the information that we have to share. Also understand that all that we shall provide for you today is simply that of our perspective, our point of view. For all knowledge, all information, all creation itself resides within your very hearts, beings, and souls. The Year of Disclosure. Now, of course, we have talked about this previously, relating to your upcoming year. Again, many of you have many forms of expectations in the idea of the upcoming year. In that sense, well, will this lead to the idea of a great financial disclosure? Will this lead to the idea in that sense of a great political disclosure? Will this lead to the idea of a great extraterrestrial disclosure? We will say in bits and pieces, yes, but not into the idea of it being such a grandiose, shall we say, big picture event. 2019, again, represents the idea that you're still climbing a stairwell. You're on a very large flight of stairs. And again, you start to complete that stair, and now you're on a landing platform. And now you're going to see another flight of stairs. So there are going to be several flights of stairs that humanity still needs to climb up to before there's a much bigger picture that's going to unfold. So this can happen, again, bit by bit in 2019. This will continue to happen in 2020 and 2021. Now, 2020 and 2021 would be core years as it relates to the idea of new benchmark times for your civilization. It will actually be the beginning times where you're going to be much more aware of your interstellar realm. So that is basically what's going to happen. The idea of what you would know as the Space Force, in that particular way, is going to usher in a new age for humanity. It is eventually going to lead to the idea of interstellar travel. It is eventually going to lead to the idea of, shall we say, certain findings within your own star system that may be reported even through your mainstream media. But again, as we're focusing on the Year of Disclosure right now, it's the idea that there is going to be exposure. Basically, you could look into the idea of another year where there is, shall we say, another nail being put into the coffin as it relates to what you would know as your cabal or your quote-unquote deep state. So there are going to be more further announcements as it relates to, shall we say, new restructuring in place relating to your own political systems, which means there will be new people that will be introduced into your political arenas. And in that sense, they may seem like quite shady characters. But in that sense, they're being placed together to work together. And as we've stated, it is the corrupt that will bring down the corrupt. That's what's happening here. In your political arena, it's the idea that the dogs, in that sense, are being set loose, and they are, in that sense, fighting themselves to the death. It's like looking at a pit and seeing all these dogs just battle. That's really what's happening. The idea of your deep state, of your cabal, will be an implosion. That's what's going to take place. It's not the idea of some other outside force that's going to come in and basically lay to waste all that represents that political turmoil. The political turmoil will implode upon itself. It will collapse under its own weight. And so there will be more exposures taking place. We would also share the idea of what you would know as unsealing the indictments that are coming as well too. This is highly likely to happen within your 2019 year. So again, the idea of having what you would know as your Supreme Court and unsealing certain forms of indictments that are coming forward, this could be quite possible. There are also the idea in that sense of what you would know as truth explosions that will be coming upon your culture as well too. This may again come together through certain levels of alternative media, may follow together with mainstream media. It also may represent the idea of text alerts, bulletins in that particular way. Now, we do say that there will be both liberation and tragedy as you move into 2019, which means there's still going to be a lot of different bait and switch tactics that are going to be happening here. As the previous Earth Intelligence report stated, is that there are mouse traps being laid out, and that the aspect of these controllers are like the mice that are trying to sniff out their cheese. And so basically the idea is that they will get caught up in the traps. Now again, the idea of this is being able to, shall we say, create some particular type of staged event, create announcements for, again, some of those particular mice to fall for, and they will therefore get caught up into the trap. And so basically that has an opportunity to happen. Once there are more bait and switch tactics, the idea again of this implosion, the corrupt defeating the corrupt, this is what's going to continue to take place, is the idea of that nature of, shall we say, bait and switch tactics. Now, many of you may also be wondering about the event, again, because again, this is something that's very, very popular throughout your community, and again, our answer remains the same. The idea is that you are going through sequences of events. Don't even worry about focusing on an event right now. You're looking at many different events that need to take place first. And as these events take place first, which represent the dissolving of what you would know as your cabal, the dissolving of what you would know as your deep state, the idea of many of you coming together and renewing your planet, being able to work together, developing new systems, creating grassroots systems that will therefore be brought in place to therefore completely compensate the old, falling, diminishing, degrading aspects of systems that are on the way out. So this will represent the idea of new technologies that will be coming forward. Energy technologies primarily. So it will be quite common that you may find the development of new energy technologies that may be at some particular point replacing much of your solar and wind power. And much of these in that sense will represent what you would know as magnetic technologies, is basically using the power of magnets and being able to have them built on larger scales and utilizing the aspect of magnetic technologies, basically creating, shall we say, power centers as well too. And there may also be the possibility of personal distribution of these magnetic free energy technologies. We will not really say that they're free, but they represent in that sense zero emissions, as you would know. And utilizing these particular forms of magnetic technologies for personal use. Now again, this is a little bit more of a scale that will come down the line a little bit further. But basically the whole idea is that there is an attempt to pick up the slack as it relates to the dissolving of your old power grid systems, because it is in that sense holding a very strong, shall we say, price tag to completely redesign the infrastructure. Many are considering the idea of just being able to usher in new technology that would be, again, holding the power of magnetics. And again, placing these particular power plants in that sense around different countries altogether. But again, this is a wide-scale effort, and it will take some time before it is fully delivered. But that is something that is looking to, shall we say, pick up the slack of moving past an old degree of what you would know as an outdated power system through the idea of fossil fuels and other particular forms of nuclear power, etc. Coal power, all of that is looking to be on the way out, and therefore replaced with these brand new technologies. So again, right now, it will relate to the idea mostly of solar power, wind power, tidal power. There may also be some more possibilities in regards to geothermal plants that may come up as well too. But again, there is more so the idea of looking into magnetic power, and that would more so be the idea of your upcoming degree of mainstream forms of electricity produced. But again, on a scale that will take a bit of a transition for it to come through. When you're actually using magnetic power, this is actually something that can be adapted into your common conveyances, not just through the idea of your own homes, but can also be used in regards to transport devices. You can have it in your vehicles, you can have it in your airplanes, you can have it on boats, etc. You can actually use these particular forms of technologies that will actually produce a greater efficiency of energy, multiple times the idea that you would find with gasoline. So again, that's the whole idea, is creating these particular forms of units that basically utilize the power of magnets and sound to actually create this idea of an engine, you could say, or again, a power center. So that is basically what is looking to come on the way out here. But again, nothing's still specific in regards to exact timing or again, larger forms of distribution. But that is basically what is in the works right now. In regards to much of your financial matters, again, there's still very much a clasping, holding on to the idea of what you would know as your fiat currency system. Again, much in regards to what you would know as your cabal or your deep state are drastically trying to hold on to the fiat currency system. It is quite possible that around the time of 2019, the Federal Reserve will be caught into the crosshairs. So the idea in that sense is that your president, Donald Trump, is basically aligning a target. And this target is pointing directly at the Federal Reserve. We would basically estimate that around 2019 or possibly 2020 that this is going to be brought more into focus and that there will be in that sense a possible audit as it relates to the idea of the Federal Reserve. There may also be eventually in time a complete dissolving of that financial system. That really is where much of the fiat currency is placed right now. That is the hub in that particular way. If the Federal Reserve goes down, fiat currency will die. Basically, we could guarantee that. So when the Federal Reserve goes down, you could look into the idea that there will be new forms of currencies to come together. As we've talked about, we have shared the nature of cryptocurrency, but there is an intention to create gold-backed, or again, resource-placed legal tender, we will say, that is looking to come together in your fold. Now again, many people want to know when. Get the Federal Reserve out of the way first. And when you do that, you're going to notice that the aspect of the fiat currency will greatly plummet. And again, there will be replacement financial currencies that will take its place. Much of this may even represent the idea of local state banking, where we would suggest to all of you, do not associate your funds with national banks. Get it out of there as soon as you can and go into your own local banks nearby. This again is being shared simply because when they realize that their ship is sinking on a much higher level, they will attempt to pull out accounts. They will attempt to pull out financial accounts through, again, many of their clients, and you could risk having your own money robbed. So the whole key here in that sense is get out of the national banks, go into your own local banking systems. Some of you may even decide to go into cryptocurrency. Now is the time to do that. Yes. So the whole idea in that sense is through your Bank of America, your Wells Fargo, etc., all of these big name banks, pull your, shall we say, funds completely out of their supports altogether. Do not offer them any particular type of support. Go to your local banks and work together with them. So again, this is all part of a prelude that will eventually create local, state, or provincial banking. So the more that you're able to do this, the more that you're actually supporting your local banks, and you're not working together with, shall we say, the national beasts of finance. So that would certainly be a recommendation for us to share to you, because many have asked us about this and saying, well, Adronis, should I pull my money out of these national banks? And we would say, yes, it actually should be something you've done about a year or two ago, or perhaps even longer. The more that you're pulling those particular forms of funds out of those, shall we say, finance beasts, those particular beasts will plummet. This will assist and accelerate the ability in that sense for new financial systems to come online, for new monetary options to come together. So again, you're pulling your funds out, you're putting it towards local banking. You may want to put it towards cryptocurrency or any other particular form of alternative currency that you feel is viable. The more that you're able to do this, the more that this is initiating change. So this again is something that we would recommend, because we have had several different forms of financial based questions for us in times past, as it were. And so this is our reply to that. Yes, your cryptocurrency markets are rising, but the whole idea is that your fiat currency controllers see the aspect of cryptocurrency as a very large threat. And in that sense, they will do everything they possibly can to discredit that particular type of currency. They will basically bash it into the ground. They will consider it to be unfeasible. They will consider it to be a big mistake should you decide to invest into it. They're scared of it simply because you have the ability to become your own banker by being involved within the cryptocurrency markets. And they are very scared of that. So they will do everything they possibly can to shout out very loudly how big of a mistake it is to work with cryptocurrency. But we would say it is actually the opposite. Now again, it's a growing industry. It's something that will need a little bit more time to get a little bit more sturdy. But again, in time, it will develop itself as a sustainable outlet to your own financial needs. So we certainly do recommend it, simply because it is on the rise. It's not, again, quite at the peak to, shall we say, replace the aspect of the fiat currency, but it is certainly getting there. So again, as you move more into the early 2020s, you'll start to again feel this connection much more with cryptocurrency as it continues to rise. And right now, the leader of that cryptocurrency is Bitcoin. So again, that's something we can share for all of you. As it relates to extraterrestrial phenomena, celestial phenomena within the times of 2019, while again there have been many different forms of activity taking place upon your planet right now, there have been again certain sightings that again may continue to happen. Really the whole idea here is looking beyond the aspect of just simple sightings and being able to educate people more about the extraterrestrial presence, about other forms of civilizations. Now we understand that there has been a unique independent program throughout your internet that has revealed a particular incognito extraterrestrial race that has existed within your city known as Paradise, California. And many of you refer to these beings as the Alpha Centaurians. Yes. Now, we will tell you that is only one of about a dozen different groups that are positioned within your United States, within Canada, within the United Kingdom, within Russia, within, again, other particular corresponding nations together, within your EU that exist, There are also installations that exist within the heart of your own mountains, in areas of what you would know as the Rocky Mountains. You could even look at Mount Olympus in that way, for there is also an underground installation there. There are also installations that exist underwater. But basically, we will focus much in regards to the incognito extraterrestrials. Now, we have been talking about the incognito extraterrestrials since approximately 2009 and 2010, and that we have mentioned in a particular event taking place in eastern LA. When someone actually asked us, "Oh, Adronis, is it true that aliens may actually be walking among us?" We said yes, and what you'll actually discover is that many of them can actually be found in your own Los Angeles area. You can also find a lot more of them in California, but very discreetly. These are beings in that sense. Some are authorized, some are not. Some will simply come down to the planet of their own free will, and they will not tell your governments anything in regards to their, shall we say, presence upon your planet. Many will remain very, very discreet about this. However, it is not just about the idea of the authorized forms of civilizations that have treaties that are living upon your planet that may come forward. It's the idea that there are many different unauthorized and unaware forms of incognito extraterrestrials that are walking your planet all the time. As we've stated, you will find them quite commonly in areas of metropolis centers or just in the outskirts of the metropolis centers. So around the areas of New York, around the areas of Boston, around the area of California, yes, Western Washington, Florida, for example, even up in British Columbia, Canada, Ontario, Canada as well too, if we're looking at the western area of your continent. Again, you'll find more within your areas of Europe as well too, even in Asia, China as well too, quite a few. So again, there are a great amount of incognito extraterrestrials that are walking your planet, that are again performing certain tasks, that are again being kept, shall we say, secret right now, hush hush. But in time, there will be a coordinated effort to actually allowing many of these incognito extraterrestrials that are in agreement to come forward and to share their presence. Now again, it may come together through a group contact at first, but it will eventually move its way upwards into the idea of a global contact. So basically, when humanity is ready, they start working with themselves, they start taking care of the planet, they start harmonizing with their environment, then this will bring about more of an opportunity for other particular beings to come forward. Now, what happens quite a bit is that there are tests that take place, which means that there will be opportunities approximately every 2 to 3 years that will happen, where there will be attempts to actually bringing disclosure forward as it relates to the idea of incognito extraterrestrials upon your planet. But basically, through these tests that take place, it is to see exactly how far your government, in that sense, is in a state of decline. If they're actually going to allow this to happen, or if, again, there will be further retaliation. So the whole idea in that sense is that we continuously test the waters as it relates to, shall we say, the readiness of the collective consciousness. We understand that many of you feel ready to connect together and share information as it relates to your cosmic family. Yes. The whole idea in that sense is it's getting much of the opposers, your deep state, as we would say, out of the way completely. So again, we have to test the waters every now and then. So we could basically state that there could be another revealing of another, shall we say, authorized civilization, commonly found within the area of Nevada, that may be coming forward next. So again, this could happen in 2019 or 2020. So again, we would say look towards Nevada. Nevada again would contain beings similar to what you would know as those that are found within California, but there are also, shall we say, several different civilizations, and some of them actually exist within the areas of, shall we say, the internal areas of Nevada. So some of them in that sense can exist around Las Vegas. Some in that sense may be further closer to the idea of in your northern area of that particular state. So there may be, once again, an opportunity for incognito extraterrestrial disclosure. But again, it is being done very, very carefully. There is no exact date for this. Again, it is quite possible 2019, 2020, possibly even 2021, for an opportunity in that sense of a disclosure nature to take place within the areas of Nevada. So again, that is something that we can share with you as it relates to further possible disclosure in regards to extraterrestrial civilizations. Well, Adronis, what would this disclosure look like? It would be quite commonly, in that sense, held in the form of a type of press conference, you would say. And that there would be, in that sense, certain forms of media present, and that there would be, in that sense, certain volunteers that would come forward. They would reveal much in regards to their, shall we say, origins, to which star they may have come from, and they may also provide certain forms of samples. Either it represents the idea of DNA analysis, it may also represent metallurgy as well too, to giving you the idea of certain forms of samples, and in that sense DNA material that you cannot actually find on your planet. So again, that is just one possible outlook. It doesn't mean it's definitely going to happen that way, but it will come through in some particular type of meeting, in some particular form of organization, in some particular type of conference in that way. And so this will be delegated much through the idea of your own military, which means your military are very much in the idea of supporting extraterrestrial disclosure. They're very much for it. So you could look at that in your military. You could even look at that in your own Navy as well too. They too are also very much in support to allowing extraterrestrial disclosure, again, transitionally coming forward upon your planet. So again, very much people who are in it, who are against it, we would say, are again much in regards to your cabal, your deep state, trying to keep this secret, because here's the thing, is if this information starts to get out, they're finished. They're done. Everything that you would read within your modern science books, within everything that your culture in that sense has indoctrinated with you, is completely obsolete. And that would be disastrous for them. They would rather in that sense do everything in their power to suppress this, rather than trying to get this out. So we have said this before with many of you. If you truly want to have disclosure on that level, voice your perspective. Share this information with others. Talk to people, educate them about other civilizations that you personally may be aware of. Let people know that there are other extraterrestrial beings living upon your planet and have been living upon your planet for many thousands of years, mixed together in with the population. Some in that sense, again, are very much in harmony, working together with human beings. Some in that sense are quite opposed to working together with you. And so the whole idea is that there is indeed a mix. But again, there are, shall we say, certain efforts in being able to bring about included treaties that will complement and promote the idea of certain forms of revealings on a public media level relating to these beings that are walking your planet. So again, as we've stated, many of these particular incognito extraterrestrials and many of the civilizations upon your planet are within the 100,000s. So you have hundreds of thousands of incognito extraterrestrials walking your planet on a daily basis. So it is not the idea of one particular civilization, but many. So yes, the Centaurians certainly have a treaty here. The Lyrans certainly have a treaty here. The Pleiadians certainly have a treaty here. The Syrians certainly have a treaty here. The Procyons certainly have a treaty here. The Regulans certainly have a treaty here. The Cygnans certainly have a treaty here. The Mantis beings, again, certainly have a treaty here, of course. Some reptilian beings, yes, also have treaties here also. So there are many different types of beings that have these particular types of treaties. Beings that you would know as the Ebens would also have treaties here. So again, there are many different types. But again, many of them realize that they must be incognito. And so if they were to reveal many of their true forms to you, it would look somewhat odd. We're basically referring to the human or humanoid races. Some of them may have, in that sense, different complexion of skin color. Some of them in that sense may have, shall we say, different orientations of facial appearance. Some may have larger eyes. Some may have, in that sense, different pupil shapes as well too. Some can be, in that sense, slitted Some in that sense can be diamond shaped. Some in that sense can be more ovular, thinner in regards to the idea of a circular disc. It all depends in regards to the species in question. So in that sense, this is all part of something that can be a part of what you know as a future in that way. If many of you are coming together and cooperating and sharing this information, because now you're planting seeds into the thought forms of the collective consciousness to bringing about this aspect of the revealing of incognito extraterrestrials. We have also talked about the idea of human hybrids that again would be a part of your immediate contacts to when you in that sense decide to bring about a global disclosure. These are one of the beings, yes, that can come through in that way. Beings that you would know as the Yael, or again the hybrids in that particular way, but they are not the only ones involved. But they would certainly be what you would know as the pioneer race because they share your genetics highly. So that is what we can share as it relates to some degree of extraterrestrial disclosure. Again, possibly 2019, 2020, 2021. All depends upon the timing. All depends on the idea of the bait and switch tactics that still need to take place here. So the whole idea in that sense is that we would say much of your cabal, your deep state, is in hot water. They're being thrown into a boiling lake right now, or a boiling pot of hot water. And basically they are about to be rounded up. But you cannot just knock on their door and say, hey, we're here to arrest you. It has to be done through bait and switch tactics. It has to be the idea that you're setting out this mousetrap, you're putting this small thing of cheese upon that mousetrap, and the mouse needs to come forward to sniff that cheese, and then he is therefore apprehended. That's how this has to work. It is really that of a chess game. And it's all about strategy. It's all about coming forward in that way. Many people may ask, well, why can't this just straight out come forward? Why can't these people just come completely forward and be arrested? It doesn't work that way. Because you have to understand that many of these particular people have a great deal of resources at their disposal. They have many different forms of contacts at their disposal. And you have to work through this quote-unquote maze or a labyrinth of connections that therefore need to be, again, bait and switched. So allowing this to happen in that sense will take time. So there has been many different forms of opportunities as it relates to disclosure on different levels. From the idea in that sense of replacing the monetary system with, again, more feasible aspects of currency. There have been, again, more attempts to try and bring about new technology that replaces the aspect of fossil fuels and old dirty energy. There have been, again, attempts to bring about these other different forms of disclosures pertaining to what is happening within your political systems. Also the idea in that sense of blacklisted projects, etc. This has all been attempting to happen for quite some time. But now it's getting to the point where the vice is tightening to the degree where this needs to happen in the window of opportunity that it can. And so there has been, in that sense, a greater force that has been put together through what you would know as your World Alliance. And so this greater force of the World Alliance is starting to build itself up larger. It's starting to put itself together in a larger capacity to basically, in that sense, create these bait and switch tactics to remove those particular forms of deep state agents, we will say, out of power so that new territory, so that new systems, new educational forms, new forms of technology can be put in its place. That's what's happening right now. So it is continuously ongoing. But again, it does feel like there will be a larger culmination coming up in 2019, in 2020, as you move towards 2024. So as we have stated, between now and 2024 is the span of change. So again, this is where you're all just ripping out the roots and you're exposing everything. That's what's happening right now. It really is a span of change. It really is a span of exposure. You're exposing everything. You're sharing your own transformations as well too. You're going through your own personal transformations and realizing that you're sharing and exposing information that will help you to grow as a human being, to help you to grow wiser, help you become much more loving and more compassionate. That's what the world needs right now. We thank you very much for the opportunity of this interaction. We will now pause for a brief moment as we begin your question and answer period. 1 moment now as we return to the conduit. Thank you. Okay, some exciting information there from Adronis. Excellent. So again, thank you everybody. We're gonna get to Q&A here in just a moment, but we're just kind of going into our halftime announcements once again. So again, if you guys go to newearthteachings.com, 20% discount, type in disclosure20, all capital letters in the promo code box there, and you'll get 20% off all sessions, products, all sessions and products on newearthteachings.com. So that is available, and again, it is good until the end of day of December 31st. Remember to check out Awoken TV Indiegogo startup campaign. Help to support this project. It's going to be really, really amazing. There are membership discounts available through the campaign. Of course, Cosmic Tour to South Africa. This is happening again September 19th to October 2nd, 2019, with both Michael Tallinger and myself. So again, you'll find the direct link in the video description as well. Go ahead and check that out and join us on the tour. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and take a moment just to get a glass of water, and we'll get started with the Q&A. So again, guys, just a reminder, make sure that your questions are semi-personal or in general in nature. If there's personal questions, I will ignore them, okay? So don't mean to bust your balls, but the private sessions will take care of private questions. Okay, so let me just kind of scroll up the chat. We got lots of comments here, so I'm just going to try and scroll up a little bit more here. Okay. All right, well, hello to everybody who's around the world. Maryland, Poland, England, Arizona, Texas. Thank you. Orion, that's great too. Welcome to our extraterrestrial civilizations that are tuning into this broadcast too. Okay, so we're going to go down the list here a bit. Yeah, it's good to see that there's some people that are offering support to others who may have questions as well too. Please continue to do that, guys. It's great to share community with that. Okay, so here's one from Jason. He asks, a very important question regarding the deployment of the 5G system. Can it be stopped? Will it be stopped before it is too late? Okay, so let me take a moment to bring Adronis in, and he'll share some insight on this. We thank you very much, Jason, for your question. As it relates to your 5G networks, yes, this is something that can be stopped. Now, basically, you have to look into your course of history. What has allowed the idea of certain things to therefore be canceled and therefore taken out of the public eye has come through an overwhelming public response to allow this particular system to therefore be dismantled. So what you are basically doing is you are educating as many people as possible and letting them know about the effects that the 5G networks on your planet are causing. Now again, these do represent a particular type of mind control device. They are often, in that sense, utilized in regards to, shall we say, causing certain degrees of thought forms, often in the idea urges in that way. It is very similar to technologies that can be used on targeted individuals as well too. Some of you may also look at it in the idea of a type of quote-unquote voice of God technology, and to some degree this is true. But it can also create illnesses within people as well too. So what we would suggest is that you are documenting all of the particular cases that people have felt in that sense being exposed to the 5G network fields, and that you are therefore putting together compounding evidence necessary to work together with a lot of people, and you're creating a movement. You're allowing this movement to grow larger and larger and larger, demanding that the 5G networks be completely removed, or they are therefore being sanitized. Because the whole idea is your 5G networks can operate appropriately, but they are being operated in this way on purpose in regards to the frequency that they are operating at, to cause the idea in that sense of certain levels of subliminal suggestion. Again, illnesses that can happen within the body. Again, certain forms of mind control tactics. So what you're doing is you're telling them either clean this up or remove it entirely. So you need to get people together. You have them within the thousands, the hundreds of thousands, the millions, and coming together and saying, we will not tolerate this. Communicate with every particular form of provider that provides the 5G network, and you are therefore, in that sense, telling them, you will either clean this up or you will remove it. So this is again where all of you need to come together. It's about people power. So the more that you're able to come together, educate each other, and share in the idea of saying that this either needs to be cleaned or it needs to be removed. So the whole key here is continuing to inform others, share others, tell others what's happening. You have more access to reaching millions of people in this particular time period now than you ever have before. Your internet grants that. So take advantage of that. Tell people about the 5G networks. Tell people in that sense about the harm that it is causing. Tell people in that sense to come together. Create the impression to allow these particular forms of networks to either be sanitized or in that sense completely dismantled. Humanity has the power once you're together to do this. All right? The same thing goes for your chemtrails. The same thing goes for the fluoride within your water. It's all the same thing. You need to speak up together en masse. Educate people. Tell people. We're not saying that 100% of everybody on the planet is going to get behind you, but a good majority can. And that's the whole key. Look into the idea of other people who are already doing this work. Team up with them. Come together. Share this. Spread the word. That's the idea. When humanity comes together and you share this information, that's what brings about the greatest change. Within the thousands, the hundreds of thousands, the millions, and then the billions. Yes, this can happen. You need to do your work. Now, in regards to helping yourself to become self-contained in a state of sanctuary, past the idea of the 5G networks, and what you're doing is you can use certain things as orgon or organite and placing that within your own home. You again can dismantle any particular modems that are within that area, either coming from your own home or others. You can also, in that sense, tell other people about what 5G networks are doing, and therefore, in that sense, having the aspect of the 5G networks disabled. You, again, can also bring in more natural plant life into your place as well, too, as they absorb those forms of energies. You can also look into the idea of creating grids out of chestnuts, out of acorns, out of pine cones. Those two hold powerful life force through the trees that will therefore be used as grids to basically absorb much of the dangerous forms of electricity that are not only caused through the idea of 5G networks, but often found commonly within the electromagnetic frequencies commonly found within your home. So the whole idea is, yes, you have the capability to completely bring sanctuary to your space, but continue to educate others as well. That's what's going to make a difference. All right? Thank you. Okay, thank you, Jason, for your question. So let's move down a little bit further and see if there's other questions here. Charlotte asked, what about the banking system in Europe? It's going to be the same thing, Charlotte, the exact same thing, right? With whatever's happening in the United States, Canada, it's going to happen overseas as well, too. I'd say actually Europe may be well ahead of this than the United States in that way. So there's going to be a lot of different forms of intent to bring down a lot of the financial system. The whole financial system all across the world is going to change. It's not just going to happen in certain specific areas, right? It is going to happen on a large area, on a large scale, but again, it's done in a transitional way. So there's a lot of plans right now to basically try and bring as much of the fiat currency down to replace it with these other particular forms of systems. But as I stated, it takes time. It's bait and switch tactics, right? So it will take time. But again, continue to put your intentions forward, right? You can assist, you can help. You're working together with the collective on this. Okay, just going down the list here. Scrolling down, scrolling. So you have to give me a minute here, guys. I'm just kind of reading into certain things of what's being discussed here and just seeing if there's anything that is feasible to share. John asks, will stock market crash with currency change, moving out funds? Well, again, a lot of people have asked this to Adronis as well, too. He says, yes, the markets will fluctuate, but it's not going to come to the point of a complete and total financial collapse, right? So you're going to have ups and you're going to have downs in that way. And the stock markets, in that sense, are basically being taken care of beforehand, right? So before this big switch happens, the idea of the markets will be safe because there are going to be implementations taking place first. The whole idea is, in that sense, if the stock markets aren't safe, then that will certainly cause a big panic. So the whole idea is the intention of being able to put all of these ideas, these facets of change beforehand, so that there can be appropriate accommodation, so that the stock markets are not going through an enormous plunge. So that is being taken care of from what I've received as well too. Again, we don't know exactly when this is happening. This could happen next year. This could happen within the next couple years, but it is certainly something that is looking to get get off the ground in that way and come forward. It's been something that's been trying to happen for quite some time, but there's been delays and delays and delays. And the feeling is, again, as you're putting these bait and switch tactics down, sometimes they fall for it, sometimes they don't, right? So delays can happen. You have to expect that, right? Going down the list. Okay, here's one from Tone Lease. Why is Brad and Adronis saying the same thing that David Wilcock has already said? They're bringing the same information as him. Well, it's because there's some type of similarity that's coming forward, right? Back in 2010, Adronis shared something in regards to California as well. I'm aware that David Wilcock shared this on Edge of Wonder, where he was talking to the guys there and basically saying that Paradise, California is a hub where the Centaurians are. And so that was certainly made aware of in my own consciousness. And so Adronis brought that up. But what he's saying as well, too, is that there are other particular groups as well, too. So you'll find them in California, you'll find them in Nevada, you'll find them in Florida, you'll find them in many different areas of the western side of the world. And usually when you come across the idea of redundant commonality, that means that we're getting similar sources that are identifying this. So Adronis is going through the collective consciousness. He's sharing a lot of this information. And when another person is sharing that together in tandem, then you know that some particular type of redundant commonality is coming forward, right? So this isn't being shared just because David Wilcock has shared it in that way. Certainly that's a big thing. But again, incognito extraterrestrials with Adronis has been shared again since around 2009, 2010. And so there's just a combination of common redundancy of information that's being shared. And Adronis is kind of taking it to the next level to let you guys know that there are more civilizations that are walking this planet, and that there are efforts to try and bring about as much disclosure opportunities as possible. Okay, so that's basically why there's things that are being commonly said, is because this happens in channeling as well too, right? There's times where I'm saying something in channeling, and then I meet another channeler, and he's saying almost the exact same thing that I'm saying, and he's not even aware of the work that I do. This is redundant commonality. This means you're tapping into the same source, right? So there are certain things that Adronis says, and then I see Bashar saying it in that way, right? And so we're getting redundant commonality coming together. Don't be afraid of that. That's a good thing, right? Because that's showing that the sources that we're getting in that sense are saying similar things, and that's something that can certainly help in that way altogether. All right. Moving down the list again. Adronis is the alien. Well, if you want to call him that, he really is human, but just a human existing in a 6th density plateau within Sirius. So a human ET, as I call him. Aliens in that sense really aren't appropriate to look at it in that particular way. We just call them that in that sense as a means of programming. But really a lot of them are human beings, and they just exist on other worlds, other dimensions, other realities. But a lot of them can look just like us, right? So it's really just looking at it in a little bit of a different term rather than something that is alien, right? It's just it's kind of an ugly word, really. Going down the list more. Still scrolling. We got a lot of comments here, guys. That's good. Okay, here's one from Anthony. So I'll try and make sense of this question. Will controlling the straw man, aka ens legis, still be beneficial after the government loses its power around early 2020? Well, basically all I could say is I know what he would say in that sense. It's not about controlling something. It's not about controlling the straw man or the free man on the land in that way. The free man on the land movement in that sense really only goes so far, right? So I'm just kind of answering this for Adronis altogether. If many people want to try and go into the free man of the land or the straw man in that way, where they feel like they are being above the system and that, or just not deciding to participate in the system. Again, that's only going to go so far. The whole idea is if you're really, really going deep with a lot of these particular type of controllers, they don't even care what you try and put together in legality, right? Trying to play with legality in regards of, the aspect of being a free man on the land isn't really going to do much, right? There's so much corruption in the legal systems, and it's not really going to make too much of a difference if you're trying to, battle the legal system with more legalities in that way. It's corrupt to the bone, so they would always try and find some way around it. Even if you try and get some type of temporary relief through the free men on the land, in that sense, there's always going to be something that's going to come around the corner to come back and bite you, right? The whole idea in that sense is just to move in your own way to, okay, if the system wants to do this, that's fine, but I'm going to do what I can to bring about, freedom within myself. I'm going to work past this system. I'm going to work above it, right? I'm going to harmonize myself. I'm going to work together with other people. I'm going to share myself. I'm going to create projects. I'm going to do new things that I feel I can do in my own way, and I don't have to worry so much about the legal back and forth. I'm just enjoying my life as it needs to, and if I need to put these things together to file taxes or whatever, then that's something that you can do. With the whole idea with I've talked to people who have been free men on the land in that way, and they're not really free. They have actually been going through a lot more stresses. They've been going through a lot of court battles, etc. It's basically looking at this much more organically than rather having to try and play their games. So that's the best way I can kind of sum that up. Let's go down the list a bit more. Okay. Someone says, Anne-Marie says, Brad, what about our mortgages? Well, what about them, right? Again, if you're going through banks, if you're going through national banks in that sense, then yeah, of course, you're going to probably have to pay your mortgages in that way. But basically what's being said is that your own funds, right? If you already have mortgages or something like that through a national bank, then, that's your choice to decide to stick with them. But if you're basically having your own funds, and if you can even just put some extra funds into a local bank, right, that's not affecting your mortgage or not affecting any other particular hits that you may have contracted together with these big banks, then that's a good step in the direction, right? So basically I would say take extra income out of that bank and put it into a local bank in that way. This is again what's just being suggested by Adronis, is not to do what you can in the best way possible to try and put stuff into local banking and not into national banking. So national banking can squander that money. They can basically take your money like that without even having to offer you an explanation, right? So it's very, very important that we're working more together with the local bank. So take extra income that you're not afraid of taking out of a national bank and put it into a local bank, and then just kind of nurse it along in that form of transition, okay? I'm in no way a financial specialist, so I cannot really guide you too much in that way. But I would just suggest the idea of working together with your local banks as much as you can, okay? Okay, gonna go down the list here a bit more. Someone says, Bashar has said ETs are on the moon. Of course. The whole idea with the moon is the moon was once a satellite of Maldek, and before that time it was in Ursa Minor, and before that time it was in the Pleiades. So it has been in many different star systems altogether, but it's basically a laboratory. It's something that was created, again, often I'd say through reptilian design, to go through different planets and observe other planets, other life forms, as a laboratory, as a monitoring station, right? So again, it was once around Maldek, and then when Maldek left, it went right to Earth, right? So that moon, in that sense, is a spacecraft. It's an artificial satellite. It's the laboratory, and that's where basically the 22 different extraterrestrial races that have been responsible in working together with our genetics over a long period of time. Many of them are stationed there, and so it's a very ancient structure. The moon itself may actually be almost as old as the Earth. It's hard to say its exact age, but it is extremely ancient. So yes, it is definitely a spacecraft, and there are, again, many different beings that are there. Okay, so it's kind of a dark question, but because someone is asking it, I will go ahead and bring Adronis in anyways. David of S.H.I.E.L.D. ask Adronis why they want us all dead and gone, why they poison everything. Okay, So again, I apologize, guys, if this sounds dark, but someone is asking it, and I will share this. One moment. We are here, and we thank you very much, David, for your question. Well, it's very, very simple. In order for you, in that sense, to have a particular type of population reduction, that's the idea of what needs to be done. Many will do it through war, many will do it through poisoning, and many will do it, again, through very, shall we say, silent assassin-like ways. Again, it can come through the idea of frequency bombardment. It can come through the idea of poisoning food supplies. It can come in the idea, again, of warfare. But basically, they're doing all of this to do one simple thing: control. That's the whole idea. If you have a very, very small population, you can control people. You basically have a very, very small population where everybody fits in line. And basically the type of people they want are basically people that you would commonly call sheep. People in that sense who are not questioning authority, who just obey everything, and in that sense will not try to rock the boat. So they are basically have been trying to perform this particular type of population reduction for well over, shall we say, a century at least. And so basically they realize that this is what you would know as an end biblical time. And they will do everything they can to try and poison or try to create warfare or, again, to use technology to their benefit. They have basically thought of almost every particular thing you can imagine to try and create this depopulation agenda. Will it succeed? No, it will not. The reason why you may feel it succeed is because many of you are putting so much power into this and feeling that this is exactly what's going to happen. We're all going to be on doomsday. All of this is going to happen, etc. Again, it's only going as strong because many of you are giving it power. Many of you are dumping all of your energy into this and feeling that this is definitely going to happen. And so you're continuing to support what you don't want. When all of you, in that sense, decide that you actually start living positively for a certain amount of time and you actually start to bring compassion to each other for a certain amount of time, this turns everything around. In fact, we would say that if the majority of the population spent only a couple of days working together in positive energy and transformation and solutions and helping each other out and being compassionate, your entire agenda relating to this quote-unquote New World Order would die immediately during that time. That's how powerful you all are. But you're still learning how to get along with each other. You enjoy more times fighting with each other than you do actually support each other because you feel that maybe everybody is your enemy. And that is therefore the idea about how you're allowing these control agendas to continue to happen. You're not taking responsibility for yourselves. You're not working with each other. When you start working together with each other, all of this will be gone very quickly. So maybe stop getting at each other's throats and trying to think that somebody needs to be right or somebody needs to be wrong, and live your life in the form of love and compassion. This is what we have been attempting to teach all of you for the past near 10 years of communicating through this channel. You have to ask yourself, what is preventing me from allowing myself to be loving and compassionate? It's because you buy too much into this physical system, and this physical system has nothing to do with you. But you empower it because you feel, again, it's like a baby that doesn't have their bottle. And if they don't have their bottle, then again, they're going to have a fit. They're going to throw a tantrum, and again, they want that bottle in that sense. But that bottle in that sense is only giving you bitter, sweet liquid. So the whole idea here is moving past that idea of trying to be so addicted to the system because it's a trance-inducing program. This trance-inducing program matrix is what's keeping you, again, at odds with each other, fighting each other, constantly battling with each other, providing suffering through yourself and another. And you're feeding the beast that you know you want to see plummet. Well, how do you expect that beast to plummet when you're constantly feeding it? You have to look at this. You have to look very deeply within yourselves. And you have to see exactly what is preventing you from bringing much more love and compassion forward. Because that's what the majority of your planet is about. There is much more love on this planet than there is fear. But many of you are indoctrinating this planet of fear because you buy in to what your media, to what your leaders, to what your team members of these political agendas are telling you. And they will tell it through celebrities, they will tell it through spokespeople, they will tell it through experts, they will tell it through doctors, they will tell it through scientists, and they'll tell you all of this aspect that represents separation. But at any particular moment, each and every single one of you that decides to follow a path of love and harmony and heart-centered resolve can dissolve all of this like that. When you are empowered, there is nothing the aspect of the karmic forces, as it were, can do to try to trump that. This is something that you need to keep in mind. Work together rather than working against one another. That's how you are able to transcend, surpass yourself into an earth, into a planet that you know will be so enriching, will be very positive, that will allow people to work together in harmony. That is something that's very real, but you need to start becoming the example of that. If you don't, you stay with what you create. We thank you. Okay, so well said there. Okay, so thank you, David. I hope that answers your question. Okay, so moving on down the list here. We got about 2 or 3 more questions we'll take. So let me go down. Oh, actually, I think I'm at the bottom now. Okay. Okay, well, here's an interesting question here. Actually, let me go up a little bit more before I get to that one. Okay, so here's one from Lyra Wright. She asks, Adronis, how do you see the transition of an update of physical being reality moving from carbon-based to silica crystal base? What are examples? Thank you. We thank you very much for your question. Well, here's the thing. You're not looking to transcend carbon. But what's actually happening is that your crystalline base, the silica within yourself, is coming online. So it is true that you are becoming much more of a crystalline intelligence, but you're not in that sense depleting the carbon make of yourself, because carbon itself is all part of the essentials of your body that will again transcend from 3rd to 4th density. Now, if you look at the idea of certain inner Earth civilizations that are existing in 4th density, guess what? Many of them are carbon-based life forms. They're not silica-based entirely. They do have, again, certain aspects of silica contained within their own bodily matrix, but they are not, in that sense, a fully dense carbon, or shall we say, silica-based life form. They do have mixtures as well, too, of carbon and silica. Carbon, again, is applicable in regards to higher densities, all the way up to 6th density. So in that sense, you are not feeling that you are leaving behind the aspect of the carbon matrix within your cells. So again, that is a 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th density aspect. Carbon itself can move into that. So the whole idea that you moving into a silica-based is just the idea of the components within yourselves that are firing up. You have to see yourself, again, as this grid. You have to see yourself as this web of connectivity, and that the silica in yourself, yes, represents crystalline intelligence, but it's not growing to the point where it's going to replace the carbon. It's the idea that it's activating in its own components, but you will actually discover that much of the crystalline matrix that exists within yourself is found within the DNA strands. And so basically what's going to eventually happen in your generations ahead is that the aspect of the DNA itself will move from a double helix structure to a triple helix structure. And again, you'll find this very commonly in your upcoming generations with your children, is that they will start to be a triple helix DNA structure. So because in that sense of the crystalline matrix that exists within the DNA, that is therefore activating. And again, that's what's allowing the aspect of, shall we say, new information that's coming much more in a quasi-linear perspective, rather than the idea in that sense of a solid linear perspective. But this is not in that sense getting rid of any particular form of carbon material within yourself. You are transforming. There are silicon deposits within yourself that are activating. But again, this is not representing the state of replacement. As we stated, carbon itself as a viable element within the human form moves all the way up to 6 density. In fact, we ourselves have certain forms of carbon elements within ourselves as a 6 density being. All right? We hope this helps you. Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much, Lyra. I hope that made sense. Okay, so here's one from Joe, and it is regarding California. I would like to hear Adronis' outlook on the fire in Paradise, California, and its purpose and why. I live there, and it's been weighing heavily on my mind. Thank you, Brad, Adronis, and the group. Okay, one moment. We thank you very much for your question. Now, again, as we've stated, is that there has been another, again, on your planet, and we are aware of him. This is, again, why we're bringing this up, relating to the idea of Paradise, California, and extraterrestrials. This is not the only reason why this has taken place. The whole idea in that sense is that not only did Paradise, California get affected, but much of the surrounding areas also became affected as well, too. It was the idea that this was also targeted for quote-unquote targeted individuals as well, too. This was not just targeted for extraterrestrials, which means there are certain humans as well, too, that, shall we say, had fatality relating to this particular event. It was the idea in that sense to kill off many different forms of spokespeople, in that sense, that are basically thought to come forward that lived in certain areas of California, such as Paradise, California, such as areas of Malibu, etc. Some of these in that sense would also be the means to try and grant federal funding in regards to the state of California relating to these fires. So again, that much of this money itself can be apprehended. We would say that there are several agendas in mind as it relates to California. But overall, in that sense, there are specific houses that were targeted. Again, yes, some of them were extraterrestrial related. Some of them, in that sense, were whistleblowers. Some of them, in that sense, again, were targeted individuals that were actually being, in that sense, destroyed based upon this particular, shall we say, energy weapon disbursement upon the state of California in these particular areas. So again, is what you would know as a silencing protocol to basically target homes, to basically target vehicles. And again, this is why you're noticing that much of the nature that surrounds these areas were left intact, because again, this is all part of directed energy weapon satellites. And so again, there are quite a few of them upon the orbit of your planet. And so again, because they perform such a thing like this again allows them now to be exposed even further. And so again, it is all part of the mouse being placed inside the mousetrap. But again, many of these particular beings who were specifically targeted, again, represented a threat to what you would commonly know as the deep state. We thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Joe. So we're going to take one more question. And we're going to conclude here. So I'm just going to go down the list here. I'm just kind of looking for somebody who hasn't asked a question yet. It's hard to say here. Some good questions here. Okay, so this one is kind of good. I think I can probably use it in regards to more of a generalization as well, too. Elazar asks, this is a semi-personal question. Can one communicate with a Sasquatch through your mind and then meet them? So again, this can be also something that can be shared relating to other ET civilizations as well too, or inner Earth beings. So let me take a moment to bring Adronis in, and he can share that information. We thank you very much, Elazar, for your question. The answer, in a brief way, is yes, that can happen. Now again, this happens generally with many different forms of contacts. For example, there have been periods of history where certain individuals have received direct telepathic contact with, shall we say, extraterrestrial civilizations, and are asked to meet them in a certain area at a certain time. And so, therefore, the person realizes that this experience they had was very vivid, felt very real, just as real to them as physical reality is, and they went ahead and they did so. as they went into this area, they may have had what you would know as an out-of-body experience, where in that sense their own astral body came out of their physical body, and they may be taken up to a ship. Now, again, at times, this may also relate to the idea of the physical body itself. It may actually have apparatus attached to it, to therefore comply with the aspect of dimensional flux change, and therefore being brought up into the ship as well. It depends upon the situation, it depends upon the person, it depends upon their karma, depends upon, in that sense, the nature of the interaction. Now, as you state in the idea of the Sasquatch, yes, there are, in that sense, many different Sasquatch that have contacts with individuals who, in that sense, will have direct telepathic communication with them. Some of them may actually suggest that you go out to campsites. Some, in that sense, may actually suggest that they work together with you in a certain level of intuition, and you may actually draw out a pattern on a map, for example, and they will say, meet us right here, be in your car, or be in a tent, etc. And so you'll drive out to that particular area, and it'll be late at night, quite commonly, and then you may, in that sense, have certain forms of interactions with the Sasquatch. So again, some particular Sasquatch may have this intention of communicating with you telepathically to let you know that there is a meeting taking place. And so this can happen, but we would say through the majority sense, much in regards to their communications are just telepathic, which means you do not have to meet up with them. They have already formed a connection with you. But it is quite possible, again, through the Sasquatch, through other particular beings, either on your planet or beyond, that may, in that sense, communicate with you to basically meet together at a gathering point. So this may also just be the idea of you being in your living room at 12 midnight, and in that sense having them appear. They again may just say, just go down the street and meet us there. That can happen. They may say, well, you're going to now come down to Las Vegas and meet us here in this particular area. That can happen as well too. So again, it all depends upon the circumstances, the situations, the causes in question, based upon the person and the entity communication contact in question altogether. All right? We thank you very much. We thank all of you for your questions through this particular interaction today. I am Adronis of Sirius, and we will now return to the conduit. We will speak to you again, as now is forever, all is one, and love is essence. Goodbye for now. Okay, guys. Well, thank you so much for, again, being part of this interaction today. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed Adronis' Year of Disclosure. We had a lot of great information shared today, both through questions and through the presentation. So again, before we conclude here, go ahead and go to newearthteachings.com, 20% discount, disclosure 20. Just type that in, all capital letters, to enter a promo code. Again, go to the video description. You'll see the Awoken TV Indiegogo startup campaign. Go ahead and check that out. Again, I'm really looking forward to rolling this out and sharing some great content with all kinds of teachers from all over the world. And of course, Cosmic Tour to South Africa with Michael Tellinger and myself. Again, you'll find that link in the video description. Go ahead and book now. And we're going to be going to different sacred sites all across South Africa with both Michael Tellinger and myself, talking about the Anunnaki, mankind, giants, gold, extraterrestrials, and a lot more. So again, thank you so much, everybody, for being a part of this interaction today. I really appreciate it. And stay tuned this week, as we're going to have the full-time schedule starting to appear. So again, that's going to involve the Adronis archives that are going to be happening all throughout this week. And 5 days a week, we're going to be having those episodes happening. There's also some other episodes in the works, I should say, that are going to be happening here as we move into January. So again, thank you so much. Thanks for being part of today's interaction. And I'll speak to you again in another perspective of the now. You take care. Goodbye.